Hi, my name is Thor Besier. I'm the Chief Scientist at iMeasureU, and I've been doing biomechanics research for the last 20 years and interested in mechanisms of injury and improving performance of athletes. So what we're going to do today is talk to you about some of the fundamental reasons why we're interested in understanding mechanisms of injury and how we can do that with these little guys. These are little inertial sensors that can measure accelerations and angular velocities. And using this technology, coupled with our information of biomechanics and how the body responds to loads, we can get estimates then of what these loads are and how these loads are transmitted into your body tissues. So we're going to discuss how that's related to the mechanism of injury, as well as how that can be used by coaches and integrate this into your training schemes. So the first thing I'd like to talk about today is the difference between external and internal workload. Now, if you read the literature, you might come across these terms, and it's important to know the distinction between the two. So external workload, you can think of this as kind of a measurement of, how much load is placed on the body, and often you might see different measurements such as GPS-based measurements of running, distance covered, and those type of measurements. Now that's kind of a pretty external, and this is why it's called an external workload, overview of what loads are going into the body. But if you really get down to the mechanism of injury, and really what we want to understand here was how are these loads actually transmitted into the body. So knowing that someone's covered a certain distance or is running a certain speed doesn't tell you much about how the forces are actually then distributed into the different tissues of the body. And this is the distinction then between external and internal workload. Internal workload then, we're really thinking about the forces on the individual tissues in the body and how those forces are distributed. And so if we take a step back and think about the mechanism of injury, in its simplest term, really, an injury occurs when the mechanical loads exceed the strength of the tissue. And so for a given tissue, let's just say that's a knee ligament, for example, if you exceed the strength of that ligament might rupture. Now that can occur during a one-off event. For example, you might be running and sidestepping in a game and you get a large load placed on your knee joint. That load's not supported enough by muscles, then that load exceeds the mechanical strength of the ligament and the ligament ruptures. Another example might be the case where you get cumulative loads that build up, and this is the case of fatigue-related fractures, and this is something that we're really interested in because we can monitor the types of loads that occur in athletes over the course of a game, over the course of weeks, or over the course of a whole season. And the idea here is that you can kind of pick up injuries such as fatigue-related fractures or tendinopathies, where the tissue experiences some sort of load over a longer period of time, and it's a repetitive cycle of load that actually then leads to the mechanism of injury.